Round 2, starting now. We win the die roll. We would like to play first. And that's a mulligan because we are only sitting here with a single forest. Single island would be interesting because we could just curve out perfectly. But even with an island, I think that's a mulligan. If we had 2 lands, it would be great, but it's not even the bio shift, so we can't do much about that. And we mulligan into perfect mana and not much else, but I'm going to keep that. Our opponent is going on to 6 as well. And we do have a turn 1 Spire Tracer. If we manage to draw a 2-drop, it's actually a great start. And if we don't, that's fine as well. Wow, our deck is really delivering. Of course, if you have a reasonable amount of 2-drops, then it isn't that unlikely to draw one. But of course, that's kind of the perfect card here. Getting it to evolve with the help of the Denizen. The blue Denizen, I should say. And pushing past this creature. Our opponent hasn't shown white mana yet. He might be the Orzhov deck with Merciless Eviction. He could still be Dimir, but no, we see the planes there. Now this is the point where I want Burst of Strength to attack my Spire Tracer into his creature. But I'm not going to complain, things are looking really, really good. The one thing to keep in mind is that Orzhov can have a lot of different removal spells. Devour Flesh isn't a problem right now, but there's also Orzhov Charm and Smite and Executioner's Swing, so all of these are somewhat different to play around. So we just had the very fortunate situation of it not really mattering whether we drew a spell or land, because with a forest and 2 islands we can play almost all of our spells, and if we draw a land it's guaranteed to be untapped and to enable the Denizen. So we are basically playing textbook Magic, curving out from 1 to 4, holding 1 more spell, and of course now our lands are going to be dead draws, the 12 lands we still have, but all of our other cards are going to be live, with the Denizen providing extra utility for any further green creatures, and boosting the Shamble Shark, both of which is pretty amazing. So here we actually can attack with both creatures. The Denizen isn't really a high priority, and if he decides to double block it, then we are fine killing off this creature. I think that's the more threatening card, even though it has less toughness. And we have a pretty nice blowout with Pit Fight incoming if things continue to go our way. Also, I don't expect him to be able to double block the Shamble Shark, losing both of his creatures in the process. So, yeah. Just like we expected, we have cleared the sky, hopefully enabling our Spire Tracer to get through for some damage. And if we draw a green creature, it's also going to be great. That's another Denizen. That's pretty cool. Now, like I said, there is Smite to worry about, but other than that, there isn't too much that he can do here, and he's taking quite a bit of damage. The one thing that's kind of awkward is him double blocking the Denizen, but even then I wouldn't want to pit fight anything to just not run into any of the removal spells he could have. So I'm just going to keep on the pressure and allow him to double block the Denizen to kill it. I think it's just much more powerful to diversify our offense here. I don't think that he has a trick here. I think that's just a trade, yeah. He goes down to 7 and probably doesn't use his mana. Oh, he does. Executioner's Swing on the 4/3 Shamble Shark. And there's a Ricci Tiger. Yeah, that Tiger is kind of awkward, because now if he double blocks, then we just kill his Gutter Skulk and he keeps his Tiger, and we can't use the Pit Fight profitably. So I think sadly that we can only attack with the with the Spire Tracer for now. And hopefully he won't be able to use his Tiger because he wants to develop his board, or he's drawing so many lands that we can beat the Tiger anyway. And that should be a pretty good card to do exactly that. I think I'm going to go with the counter on the Spire Tracer. Having a 3/3 in play is important for the pit fight, and I don't want to attack with my ground creature. Okay, so let's respond with pit fight. Hopefully for the blowout. Okay, he didn't even gain 2 life, so maybe he's on another Executioner swing. No, he just forgot, but I don't think it would have mattered. He goes up to 7, then down to 4, facing 2 creatures that are both lethal with another green creature. So yeah, the Denizen really pulling its weight here. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have Merciless Eviction, but it would be weird for him to concede the game at this spot if he has Merciless Eviction in his deck. On the other hand, he did make a minor mistake, so it's not out of his range to just scoop, because he doesn't want to continue playing. Our random 2/2s and 2/1s aren't really great against him. On the other hand, they are green with the Denizen, so they shouldn't be too bad. Now, Executioner Swing is a card that we could Scatter Arc, but like I've said, I'm not the biggest fan of this card. What I do like is Hydroform to board in if the opponent has a lot of Kingpin's pets and is just aggressive in the air. However, we do have quite a lot of flyers and 2 Croconaras, so I don't really think that we need the Hydroform. I also like Hydroform more if you have 17 lands, just because you are willing to lose the land usually when you play a card like this. Yeah, once again, we haven't really seen much. We have seen almost exclusively creatures and then the Executioner Swing. Nothing to be really too aware of. And he also hasn't shown the 4 toughness creatures that are prominent in a lot of the Orzhov decks. So I'm going to go with this setup for game 2 and then maybe board in something else if necessary. Our opponent is going first. We don't have the greatest hand, but I'm not willing to mulligan it. It is a 5 land hand, so we are in the danger of flooding out pretty badly. We can't use our land number 5 already. Well, what are we going to do? We are going to drop Croconera and then we can make it a 2/4. That's basically it. Aren't going to deal early damage against a Simic deck. Maybe we have to mulligan, but this deck could easily mulligan into a 6-card hand that's almost worthless, so that's why I'm not too keen on trying that. I think I'm going to keep. We only have 16 lands, so hopefully we can draw some spells. And if we draw a 2-drop with the cards we have, things are looking very nice. A 1-drop will do. Now with this hand, a 2-drop would probably have been better, but I really like Spire Tracers, so yeah, two great draws to start things off, and this is the point where you want the Burst of Strength, but I'm happy using the Slaughterhorn to get rid of his first extort creature. I don't want the extort creatures to take over, and from what we've seen so far, it seems like the evasive creatures are what give him the most trouble. Cornor is going to get a counter from the Denizen, so there's no reason to play these in the other order. That's a land that we aren't going to draw. Yeah, it's not amazing, but he killing glared our Spire Tracer, no idea why he did that. But I'm quite happy about that. And this time we are probably going to use our Croconaurs offensively. depending if we want to risk our denizen. Oh, that's interesting. He's going on the offensive himself. Don't know if I agree with that play. He had both of my creatures under control. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting line, at least. I think we have to pump the denizen here. Burst of Strength is nice. Maybe I shouldn't have played the 5th land, because now if he forces us to discard 2, I lose my combat trick. And he immediately does it. Yeah, great. Well played by me. I can still Burst of Strength something, which is nice. So given that the denizen already pushes through and the Croc needs some help, it might just be best to put it on the denizen. And if we draw another green creature, we can actually make the denizen safe from Executioner's Swing. I'm not 100% on this play, but I think it's fine. It's worse against cards like Smite, but I somehow think that he can't have everything. Yeah, I should have played around there. That would have been a much better sequence. I immediately realized once I had played the land, but that's how it goes. And Purge the Profane isn't like a big card that you have to play around, so I don't feel too bad. That's a Bioshift. Yeah, not a great card right now. We have 2 counters on the denizen, so we could use it as a nice trick at some point. Hopefully if we draw another green creature. If we draw a Greenside Watcher, then the Bioshift should be amazing. But for now I'm just going to continue attacking with the denizen. There's no reason to tell him that we have... Okay, does he have Aerial Maneuver again? Okay, so he's trading 2 for 1 here. But we are losing a pretty good creature, so maybe that's okay for him. Now we could use the Bioshift to give the Croconaria 1 counter, but I don't think that's worth it. We can probably draw some more out of the oh, we couldn't even do that because we need to deal 4, so never mind. Yeah, we just take the trade here. He was probably aware of the fact that if we draw another green creature, the denizen becomes very hard to kill for him. And he wanted to use that aerial maneuver while he still could. Now, Kingpin's Pet is a problem if he continues to draw spells from this point on. We don't have anything, so... On the other hand, we did keep a 5-lander, so I'm not complaining about the amount of lands we've drawn. I think we've been pretty fortunate, in fact. Yeah, it looks like our opponent is drawing some lands as well, so things aren't looking too bad. I don't think that we have a realistic attack here. We could attack with the denizen, and then he probably blocks with the spy. But if he double blocks, well, if he double blocks, we can always kill the pet. I guess we can just attack with the denizen and try to Bioshift. I don't think that he has a spell in hand. It's kind of a weak Bioshift, but this game might come down to a very close life total race, so I'm willing to take that risk here. If he double blocks, I'm also fine, because just like my denizen, it does provide me a late game advantage. His pet kind of does the same, with all the extra triggers that might actually be better than the +1/+1 counters I'm distributing. Yeah, what a great card. So now he has a much better block with just blocking with Balustrade Spy and Gutter Skulk, so I can't run out the attack anymore. Okay, not the most action-packed game we have here, but we are doing fine, I think. Miming Slam would be a 2-2 now. We could make it a 3-3 by putting a counter on the Denizen with Bioshift. No, that doesn't really make sense. The question is if we want to hold it back, because a 2-2 slime isn't going to do what we need it to do. On the other hand, if we attack with a 3-4 Denizen and he goes for the double block, then we somewhat blow him out with Bioshift, assuming that he doesn't have a spell to cast, basically. Now, what he could also do is block with all his creatures, and then it would kill the Denizen, and we are off to a pretty bad spot again. I think I'm just going to hold it for now, and just wait one more turn to gain some extra insight into how this game is developing. Okay, so that turned out to be a pretty bad play on my part. Not bad play, but turned out to be punished by his draw in the somewhat of the worst sense. Let's see how much he pays. I would pay 4 here, and he does. And he can get the Miming Slam, but that's not the end of the world. I mean, we dealt 4 damage effectively, and now he knows that we are on Bioshift. But I didn't like running out everything for a very minor effect here. We drew a pit fight. Now that's something to work with, but we don't really have a good attack still, I think. Let's see, if we attack with a Denizen now, he probably just blocks with a Confessor, and then we have the option of moving a counter there, which isn't bad. And we have 4 toughness available, so if he blocks with more creatures, then we get to kill something relevant, but I still don't think that's particularly great. I'm also afraid that his extra creatures are going to take over, so that's the other point, which I have to be aware of. Now, my Denizen also has some staying power, of course. We could just pit fight his Quinquin's Pet and be done with it. But maybe we can attack with the Denizen. If he makes a small mistake with the block, then we actually have a pretty nice Bioshift here. And that might actually be worth it. Not exactly sure on this play, but let's just try it. So we can put a 3rd counter on the Denizen. Then it has 4 toughness, which means that pit fighting the Gutter Skulk away deals saves our Denizen, basically. Otherwise, we would only be able to kill the Gutter Skulk, which we don't want, and we want to get rid of the Confessor. So I think I'm going to do that. It's not great for us because he chose the best block for him, but I don't want this extort creature to stay around. I don't want to play against 2 extort creatures. So even though I have to waste my pit fight on Gutter Skulk this way, I still think that it's worth it. This has 1 counter and we move it. Okay. There's an argument to be made that the Kingpin's Pet is the more powerful extort creature, but with a Croconora in play, I don't really care if he has a 2/2 flyer or a 1/3 ground creature, and our Ivy Lane Denizen is hard to block for him, so hopefully we can draw into another creature, getting more counters on the Croc, and on the Denizen, and on the Cloudfin Raptor. We are basically trying to draw creatures here, which makes it even worse that we didn't go for the Miming Slime play, which might have been very good, but who knows. That's not a creature. If we attack with the Denizen now, he's just going to double block with his Spies, which we don't want to happen, so... And the spells keep coming, and that's a card I don't want to see, because I think that this game is a life total race, and the Tiger, just gaining him 2 each turn, is going to make it very difficult for me to win. Metropolis Sprite, not a great draw, but I'll take it. A Frilled Oculus is kind of bad because it doesn't pump up the Croc, but it's a creature that has a lot of potential if we ever get it to become a little stronger, and that holds for all of our creatures now. So all of them are just waiting for one more counter to trade with the Balustrade Spies. On the other hand, we also have to be somewhat aware of what his cards are doing there. Ivy Lane Denizen has to be an absolutely amazing draw here. We can... The Croc goes up to 2/4. The Cloudfin Raptor doesn't grow, and then we can decide which creature to pump, basically. I think making a large Metropolis Sprite is very interesting, because it's almost impossible not to block it. It's just gaining so much power. But that would take 2 counters, so it's probably better off waiting for the next green creature. If you put 1 on the Oculus, we have a 6 toughness creature with 4 power, which still means that he can kill it with a triple block. So this doesn't really get much better from gaining the counter. I think our creature that improves the most from the counter is the Cloudfin Raptor right now, because it means it just trades for 1 creature, which is fine for us. We are just trying to push through here, so that we can at some point get through for more damage, basically. I do have to watch my clock a little bit, and hopefully our opponent stops drawing spells for a while. On the other hand, he does have a lot of lands in play already. So we are probably seeing some of the double blocks I talked about, but it's also possible that he's just going to take the damage from Frilled Oculus, because he does have the life gain available to him. He could still be on Merciless Eviction, but there's not much I can do about that, so I'm not really going to worry about it until I see it. Okay, yeah, he has resorted to not blocking the Oculus, which is very understandable. He's only losing 1 in the process, and he has 2 extort creatures, so he's basically gaining life still from this board position, but this changes with any green creature we draw. I could attack with the Denizen, but I really don't want to trade it for a single of his single one of his creatures. Okay, we have to discard a card now. That's not the end of the world. He does get to extort and then cipher, but ciphering is only relevant if he deals us damage, which I don't see happening unless he draws something else. So, hoping that this is just a one-time thing, and it's basically one of the worst spells he could have drawn here. That's a green creature. So now making a 3/4 Metropolis Sprite is pretty amazing. So let's just do that. And continue with the beatdown plan. Now, this might be the time for the Denizen to go on the offensive. He has to trade it with one of his creatures, and all of his creatures are somewhat good right now. And we don't know when we are going to draw the next green creature. So, yeah, I think we are forcing him sufficiently well here. That might not turn out to be correct, but it's a difficult decision, not only for me but also for him. And I do want to preserve time on my clock, if possible, if you are forced to go into a third game. Looks like our opponent is fine, just taking quite a bit of damage here. And we have an interesting decision. We can kill the tiger, but I think killing the pet should be our main priority. It's a flyer and an extort creature, and that makes the difference. And that took quite a chunk out of his life total. Does have the tiger still, but now things are looking really nice. If we can force him to block the Oculus. And we even draw another creature here. The Metropolis Sprite is already great, so we can basically decide which of the creatures we want to pump. I think that the Denizen is probably our best choice. Or maybe the Croconora, because if he double blocks the Croconora, then I actually want to keep back the Croconora just to be safe. So I'm going to go with the Denizen and just continue the 3 power beatdown. I don't want to lose to a Cypher spell like Shadow Slice on Balustrade Spy, so I'm holding back the Croc here. I don't think I can attack with Spire Tracer, even though the Metropolis Sprite deals quite a bit of damage. We can delay this by 1 turn. There's also the theoretical chance of him just having a spell here, of course. Let's try to kill the flyer this time. And no spell on his part. And he's down to 1. So maybe we should have attacked with more than what we did, but that one draw step hopefully doesn't change things. Yeah, him drawing in that many lands in the last couple of turns was certainly unfortunate for him. Just imagine him playing Merciless Eviction now, and we are just left with nothing and only 10 cards in our library. 16. He's probably running 17 and the Prism. He was certainly a little unfortunate in that regard. I'm not going to argue about that. We've drawn 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, we have 14 totals, seen 14 totals, so we've actually seen a large portion of the lands in our deck, but so does he, so yeah. That's just part of Magic. I guess in the late game the Orzhov decks should be advantaged, but it's not as clear cut as it sounds, simply because we also have a lot of staying power. This was basically our personal extort trigger, if you want, and even though the exchanges we made didn't look too amazing, we just presented a board that he couldn't really deal with, not by just gaining life without really pressuring our life total. Just a little too defensive for my tastes, which is my main problem with Orzhov decks. The Purge the Profane got a spell out of us, but both Purge and his Mental Vapors are kind of non-cards, because they take the opponent's cards with the lowest utility out of their hand, and that is usually lands in the late game, which have 0 utility. And then if you look at his cards, he used the Killing Glare, one of his best spells, on our turn 1 Spire Tracer, and from the other cards, it's just some okay Orzhov commons, but nothing too spectacular. So I think we are favored in this matchup, and we would have been favored had this gone to a game 3. See you in the finals.